Before we get started, I'd like to invite you to connect with me on Facebook. My business page is Positive Partners Dog Training, and High Country Caring Canines is a page for the therapy dog organization that I'm the president of. Welcome to the Family Dog Manners Orientation. I hope you're excited. And don't forget, there are 3 secret words in this presentation that you will need to email me once you're done. My name is Brianne Harris, and I'm the owner of Positive Partners Dog Training. I'm also a tester and observer for the Alliance of Therapy Dogs. On the left-hand side, you'll see a picture of me at 12 years old with our first dog, Doodle. She's the first dog I ever trained, before I really knew anything about dog training. Before Doodles was 2 years old, I'd train her to sit, shake, lay down, roll over, and even jump over a broomstick. On the right, you'll see a picture of me and my dog, Knox. Knox is a 9-year-old Great Pyrenees. When I first met him, he really didn't have any training at all. Pretty soon I realized that everywhere we went he made people smile, and I wanted to find a way to share him with people other than just at the park and at outdoor cafes. I learned about therapy dogs, and I thought, hey, Knox would be pretty good at this. So I did all the research I could and embarked on training Knox myself. I really enjoyed it and thought I might be pretty good at it, so I contacted my now mentor, Lisa Mallory, and she got me started on my journey to becoming a professional dog trainer. Soon I'll be taking my certification test with the Certification Council of Professional Dog Trainers. It's been a bit of a journey, though, because I have to have 300 hours of experience before I can get certified. All along the way, my BS for psychology has really helped. The last 2 years of my psychology degree and studies at Appalachian State University, I really focused on behavior modification and principles of learning. I imagined that I would use it with people. Never did it cross my mind that my passion for psychology and my passion for dogs would collide and lead me to the point of being your trainer for your class. We're going to be using positive reinforcement and marker training in this class. If you've ever taken a dog obedience class in the past or seen some dog training done on TV, what we'll be doing may look very different to you. There are as many techniques to train dogs as there are trainers and owners. There are a lot of different ways to teach a dog just about anything. When I train dogs, I use proven techniques that are based in science. I could teach a dog not to jump on me by hitting him on the head with a cast iron skillet, but is that really the best way to do it? Using positive reinforcement and marker training is gentle and fosters a great relationship with your dog. We all have dogs because we love them, so why would anyone want to use techniques that could cause their dogs to fear or avoid them? A lot of people have dogs. A lot of people have had many dogs over the course of their lifetime. Some people are new to the joys of dog ownership. Some owners read books, watch training videos, look up information on the internet, get advice from family, friends, and neighbors. Some owners even seek out professional trainers, and some have learned about training dogs from methods used when they grew up in a family with dogs. Many people are still training their dogs with techniques that are outdated and inefficient, simply because they don't know there are other options. When you want to find out about training a dog, be aware that there are lots of sources of information and misinformation out there about how to do it. When I'm looking up information on training techniques and new methods, I always make sure that there are scientific sources attached to the method, or that the trainers teaching the method are ones that I know train based in science. Just because someone suggests a method of training that has worked for their dog doesn't mean that you should use it or that it will work for your dog. Some methods I've actually heard people say they've used on their dogs include putting pieces of the couch a dog has chewed in its mouth and taping its mouth shut with duct tape, filling a hole the dog has dug with water and holding the dog's head under the water, rubbing a dog's nose in its own waste when it goes to the bathroom in the house, and stringing a dog up by a choke chain until it submits. These are not only sadly outdated methods that were in fact once used to train dogs, but they're downright cruel and inhumane. Most of what a dog learns by any one of these methods is to fear its owner. Like I said, just because a method has worked for someone else's dog in the past doesn't mean we should use it. Something working shouldn't be our only measure of worth. We should use methods that are not only working, but that are efficient and kind. In February 2004, a paper published in the Journal of Animal Welfare by Ellie Hibby and colleagues at the University of Bristol compared the relative effectiveness of positive and punitive methods of dog training. The dogs in the study became more obedient the more they were trained using rewards. On the other hand, when they were punished, the only significant change was a corresponding rise in the number of undesirable behaviors. A series of more recent papers support veterinary behaviorist Dr. Nicholas Dodman's theory that punishment increases stress, leading to increased aggression in dogs. A study published in the October 2008 issue of Journal of Veterinary Behavior found that positive reinforcement led to the lowest average scores for fear and anxious attention-seeking behaviors, while aggression scores were higher in dogs of owners who used punishment. So the bottom line is, if you want to have a healthy, happy, and well-behaved dog, use rewards-based training. However, if you want an aggressive dog that's stressed out about life, go ahead and get out the prong collar. Before we dig into the nitty-gritty of the principles of positive reinforcement training, I need to give you your first secret word. Your first secret word is Doberman. Your first secret word is Doberman. The most important thing I want you to learn, the one fact that I want to burn into your brain as if it's a song you can't stop repeating in your mind, is this one simple sentence. Rewarded behavior continues. So instead of focusing on the things we see our dogs doing wrong and that we want to change, we're going to start looking for the things they're doing right and reward those behaviors. Dogs must still learn limits to their behavior, but this can be accomplished by replacing bad habits with desirable ones. Whereas previously you scolded your dog, you can now reward your dog for things done right. Dogs do what works for them. If they get an obvious benefit from doing a behavior, they'll do it more often. For example, if every time you come home or a visitor comes to the door and your dog jumps up on them and gets lots of attention, they're going to keep jumping up on you and your visitors, regardless of how nice the clothes are that you're wearing. However, if every time you come to the door or a visitor comes over, you ask your dog to sit politely and they only get attention when they're sitting or have all 4 feet on the floor, they're not going to jump. They're going to keep those feet planted firmly on the floor. You wouldn't work for free, so why should your dog? If you went to work every day and at the end of the week they told you they were short on cash and asked you to wait until next week for your paycheck, you might agree. But after a few weeks of this, it would get old. You'd eventually stop working for that employer. If you lost your job right now and were offered a job making $10,000 a year doing something easy, $60,000 a year doing something that didn't interest you at all, $150,000 a year doing something that you love, or $200,000 a year doing something you hated, what would you pick? Of course you'd pick the job that benefits you the most, the job that gives you the most money and is the most satisfying. Dogs are the same. So often we expect dogs to do what we want them to do because we think they should love us, or respect us, or should obey us because we provide for them. We might have love for, a deep respect for, or even feelings that we should obey our bosses, but in the end, if we didn't get paid for our jobs, we'd quit. Dogs are the same. In the beginning, we're going to use lots and lots, and I mean lots of treats. But as our dogs learn the behaviors and have enough repetitions, or trial, under their belt, we'll start to fade the food. Most people think that if their dog does something correctly several times, he knows it. It's not quite that easy. Dogs literally need hundreds of repetitions of a behavior to really know it. And just because we're fading the food doesn't mean that we're going to quit paying our dogs. We're going to switch out food for love, affection, and attention, maybe even toys and real-life rewards. Positive reinforcement training uses anything your dog enjoys to reward good behaviors. Just because you think this expensive new treats you bought your dog should make his eyes roll in the back of his head when he eats them, doesn't necessarily mean he'll think that way. Maybe he likes meatballs better. Remember, every dog decides what is rewarding for them, and it can change at any time. Even though your dog may love meatballs most of the time, if he sees the opportunity to play with a buddy, he may turn his nose up at those meatballs and choose to play instead. What this means for you is you've got to find a better meatball, which just means you need to find another reward that trumps his desire to play with the other dog. Or you can use the reward of getting to play with the dog to your advantage. For example, ask your dog to sit quietly for a moment and then allow him to play with another dog as a reward. A reward can be petting, verbal praise, throwing a ball, playing frisbee or tug with your dog, the opportunity to chase you, sniffing the grass, going for a ride in the car, food, treats, getting on the furniture, swimming. The list is really limitless. Whatever your dog likes can be used as a reward. What is rewarding for one dog can be punishing for another. Remember, the dog decides what is rewarding. Would you rather your boss patted you on the head and told you what a good girl you were, or gave you a big raise in your paycheck? Some dogs do enjoy praise and become excited and happy when you praise them in an upbeat voice and pet or scratch them in their favorite place. But that's probably because they've come to associate your praise with nice things happening to them. Now that we've talked so much about treats, it's important to give you some treat tips. Cut or divide treats into pea-sized pieces. You want to make sure that your treat is just big enough that your dog can taste it and know they're getting reward, but not so big that they have to take several moments to chew it. Place your treats into snack-sized black bags and refrigerate if needed. I like to use the snack-sized bags because they fit well in my pockets and there's not a bunch of extra plastic flapping around to get in the way. You do want to make sure that these bags are pretty full. Meat, such as pork roast or chicken, can be purchased on sale, cooked, divided into bags, and frozen until needed. Make enough baggies to last several days or a week. You'll be much more likely to take 5 minutes to train your dog if you can grab a bag of treats and go, as opposed to spending an extra 5 minutes each time cutting and portioning out treats. Bring out the big guns when it comes to class. Use the most delicious and desirable treats your dog could dream of. Now, since we're going to be using a lot of treats, we do want to make sure that nobody's dogs go home from class looking like this. When you're training, you can use your dog's meals as treats. Dry dog food, also known as kibble, can be a great treat if your dog finds it interesting enough. I use dog food at home all the time, but if I'm training in a distracting environment, I up the ante a bit. You can cut back on your dog's meals and use that food for training treats. Overweight dogs are less likely to be motivated by food, so for the sake of their health and their training, keep them at a desirable weight. Many trainers suggest throwing away your dog's food bowl altogether. We often get horrified looks when we say this. But seriously, if 1 cup of dog food holds 75 pieces of dog kibble, just imagine all the opportunities you have to reward your dog for good behavior. And remember what we said earlier? Rewarded behavior continues. So, how exactly do dogs learn? Although dogs brain are very similar to ours in many ways, they don't learn in exactly the same way we do. We learn well by reading, listening, or observing, just like you're doing now. Dogs associate events and learn from experiences. For example, if you get out your dog's leash, hook her up, and take her out for a nice walk every day, eventually your dog will associate the leash with good things and get excited when she sees it. If you only get the leash out to hook her up to go to the vet and she gets carsick on the way, eventually you'll have a dog that hides or cowers when she sees the leash because she associates it with unpleasant things. Learning is a process that results in the dog recognizing relationships between events and then changing its behavior based on the consequences. The better the consequences, the more likely the behavior is to occur again and again. Dogs live in a world of cost-benefit analysis. They're always deciding the benefit of whatever behavior they're about to perform. I'll give you a few scenarios, and I want you guys to think about what each dog is learning. Here's a classic one. An owner comes home from work and finds poop on the living room floor. He takes Buffy by the collar and drags her to poop. He points to the poop and says, "Buffy, you're a bad dog. Bad dog, no." What is Buffy learning? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Buffy is learning to be afraid of her owner. She's learning that when the owner comes home, he sometimes acts scary and crazy. This dog may start to get anxious when it's close to time the owner usually comes home, and if you've ever been really anxious, like maybe before you had to give a speech or talk in public, you know sometimes you can get butterflies in your tummy and have to visit the bathroom. The dog is not associating the act of defecating on the floor with the scolding she's getting. She's associating the scolding with the owner, and she may become more and more anxious, creating a vicious circle of pooping on the floor and the owner getting madder and madder and punishing her in even worse ways. Here's another one. Roscoe loves kids. Whenever he sees children, he goes nuts trying to get to them. Sometimes his exuberance can scare small children, so Roscoe's owner puts a choke chain on him for more control. When Roscoe sees children and gets really excited, the owner says, "Roscoe, no! Settle down! Sit! No!" and gives a sharp yank on the chain. What is Roscoe learning? If Roscoe gets his choke chain pulled tight around his neck every time he sees children and gets excited, his attitude towards children is quickly going to change. Where once he was excited and exuberant about children, he's now going to become scared and afraid of them because he will associate seeing children with being choked. We need to remember that in order for our dogs to understand the verbal cues we give them, we have to teach them, by association, what those words mean. Get off the bed means nothing to your dog unless you properly and systematically train her what it means. If you take the time and train her to get off the bed with the word off attached to it, then she'll understand. Lots of people say, "My dog doesn't listen to me," or "My dog understands but doesn't obey." One of the reasons dogs don't seem to listen to people is that they really don't know what those words that you're spewing at them actually mean. Dogs are very contextual. Remember, they learn by association. And if you taught your dog to sit in front of you in the kitchen, she may not understand how to sit beside you in the living room. Dogs watch our body language and other visual cues in the environment. The last thing they associate with a behavior is a verbal cue. They're just not a verbal species. In order for our dogs to truly understand the verbal cues we give them, we must train those cues over and over and over and over again. Hundreds, and I mean hundreds of repetitions, in different places and circumstances and with differing levels of distraction before they truly understand what we are saying. Before we move on, I need to give you your second secret word. Your second secret word is actually a phrase, and it is sit pretty. Your secret phrase is sit pretty. Now that we know why we're going to use positive reinforcement to train our dogs, how do we do it? We are going to use markers to train our dogs. So what is marker training? Well, it's smart training. You may have seen a clicker used to train animals. A clicker and a verbal marker, such as the word yes, are the same thing. They are used to indicate an exact moment in time that the dog accomplishes the task we set out for him. And when marked, he knows that a reward will follow. Marking the exact behavior we want gives the dog valuable information about what we're trying to teach him. A marker is a very important part of dog training. It gives the dog an instant signal that they have done something right. The marker acts as a bridge between the time the desired behavior occurs and when we deliver the reward. If we just gave a food reward without using a marker, it would be very confusing for the dog to pinpoint exactly what he was doing to earn that reward. For example, if we want to reward a dog for sitting, we get the dog to sit and then reach into our pocket for the treat. By the time we hand it to him, he may already be standing up or looking at the cute dog next to him in class. So he thinks the reward was for standing or looking at the other dog. We've already learned that rewarded behavior continues, so now our dog may try standing or looking at the other dog to get another tasty treat. The mark serves to tell the dog the exact behavior he's doing to earn the reward. Using a marker to establish new behaviors turns gray areas into black and white for your dog. Think of the marker as the shutter button on a camera. The moment your dog offers the behavior you want, you use the marker to take a picture. A marker is usually a sound. However, deaf animals can be trained with a flashlight or a laser pointer. Fish are often trained with a flashlight from a small pin light. Marine mammal trainers use whistles. Most often, dog trainers and pet owners use a clicker or their own voice. You can try a clicker if you want, or simply use your voice as a verbal marker. There are advantages to each. You have your voice with you all the time and can mark behavior in any situation, but the clicker gets to the dog's brain more clearly. So, how do you use your marker? First, you get the behavior you want. Then, you mark the behavior with a click or a yes the moment it happens. Then, you immediately follow the click or yes for the treat. You always give a treat after you mark. Even if you mess up and mark something you don't want to by accident, the dog has to know that we're keeping up our part of the bargain. One reward for every mark. If you don't reward each and every time you mark a behavior, your marker will lose its power and become meaningless to the dog. Let's talk about some of the different ways there are to get behavior. First, there's capturing. In capturing, the trainer waits for the dog to offer the behavior, then marks and rewards it. It's pretty simple. I have a Great Pyrenees, and he has a lot of hair. After a bath, I want him to learn to shake off several times to get as much water off as possible before I towel dry him. Every time he has a bath, I mark and reward him for shaking off. Remember that rewarded behavior continues? Well, Knox is now increasing the number of times that he offers to shake off spontaneously after a bath, as well as pretty much any time he gets wet. Pretty soon I'll be able to add the cue, shake off, and he'll do it as many times as I want him to. The next way to get a behavior is shaping. Shaping is a technique of training a complex behavior by teaching and gradually building upon the behavior's individual responses. To shape a spin, a trainer might start with just a glance to the left, then a glance and a weight shift, then a glance, a weight shift, and movement of a front paw, continuing until the dog is performing a complete spin. The next one is luring. Luring is a hands-off method of guiding the dog through a behavior. The dog follows a lure, usually food or a toy, as it guides his body into the position we want. The next method is modeling. Modeling is physically guiding or otherwise compelling a dog to do a behavior. Pushing down on a dog's shoulder or pulling his front feet forward are ways to model it down. However, we will not be doing this in class. We want our dogs to be thinking and moving on their own. The last way is targeting. Targeting, at its most basic, is the behavior of touching a specified surface with a particular body part. Oftentimes, we use nose targeting with dogs and other animals. You can teach a dog to stay in position by putting a target on the wall and asking him to touch it. This can be excellent for grooming or vet appointments. You can also use a target as a way to lure your dog or get them into lots of different positions, and it can be used in combination to get some incredibly complex behaviors. Some final tips before we wrap this up. Every day counts. Every moment that you spend with your dog is an opportunity to teach him something, whether it's good or bad. They're constantly learning from all of our interactions with them, so make sure they're good ones. Training doesn't have to take hours a day. 2 5-minute sessions or 5 2-minute sessions of intentional training every day are often all it takes for most behaviors. This one's challenging, but I want you guys to try to make a list of 20 things that your dog loves in each of these categories: treats, toys, and life rewards. But what is a life reward? If your dog wants to go outside and go potty, you may ask him to sit at the door and wait politely. You can reward him for sitting and waiting with a treat, or you can give him the life reward of getting to go out the door. If you're on a walk and your dog is pulling on the leash, you're going to stop and wait for him to stop pulling. When he stops pulling, you can either give him a treat, or you can keep moving forward. In these two instances, the thing the dog wants the most is going outside or to keep walking. Life rewards appear in all kinds of different situations, so keep your eyes peeled for these valuable rewards. When your dog is learning something new, be quick and generous when giving them rewards. If you don't feel a bit silly at first, you're probably not doing it quite right. Be happy, upbeat, and have fun. Our dogs should be healthy, happy, and hoppy. I don't mean they should be hopping all over us, but they should certainly have a little pep in their step. Congratulations! You now have the basic information needed to train your dog with the most modern, effective, humane, and fun techniques available. But don't leave me just yet. We still have some important housekeeping to go over. When you guys arrive for your next class, park in the designated spaces in the Watauga Humane Society parking lot or by the dog park. Please don't block anyone in, and do not park in the parking spot designated for the animal control officer. Exercise and potty your dog in the outside grassy areas, but do not let them urinate or walk in the landscaping. Please bring your own bags for waste. Clean up after your dog, and then drop your dog outside the entry. I'll collect them and dispose of them after class. You'll be bringing in a lot of stuff. Be sure to arrive early enough that you can bring your items in and set up your station before bringing in your dog. For safety reasons, high heels, backless shoes, flip-flops, sandals, etc. are not allowed on the training floor. Sneakers or other proper shoes must be worn. We'll be moving around with our dogs, and I don't want anyone's dog to run across their foot and accidentally cause an injury. I also don't want anyone slipping on the floor and falling down. It's natural for dogs to be very distracted and exciting the first night, and maybe more, of class. Please be patient with them. Don't get frustrated if your dog is unable to focus during class. It can be overwhelming for some dogs. You can still follow along, read class assignments, and practice at home. The first line of defense if your dog has trouble concentrating is to try a better treat. Please do not allow dog-to-dog interactions or meet and greets between dogs before, during, or after class. Group class can be very stressful and scary for some dogs. Meeting on leash makes other dogs feel very trapped. Always ask before petting someone else's dog. They may be shy, stressed, scared, or just need a little extra space because they woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Do not feel bad about telling someone no. Your first priority is your dog. We want class to be a good experience for everyone. If you or your dog needs a break during class, please take one. Go out to the potty area and let your dog relax, or just sit quietly and watch while others work with their dogs. Always check your mail before class. Class will be canceled for severe snow, ice storms, unsafe driving conditions. Hopefully we'll not have to cancel for weather or for any other reason, but if we do, an email will be sent out no later than an hour and a half before class. Check your email before every class, just in case I get sick or something comes up. Please also email me if you will not be able to attend a class. Now, what are we bringing to class? You need to bring a properly fitting flat buckle or snap collar. Just your regular old lupine collar works fine. Or a martingale collar, a head halter, or a front attached harness. Do not bring choke, prong, pinch, or electric stimulation or shock collars. That equipment is banned and will not be able to participate in class. You'll need a 6-foot or shorter leash of the appropriate width and strength for the size of your dog. No flexi, bungee, or retractable leashes. You'll also need to bring a bowl and water. Water will be available at the Watauga Humane Society, but some dogs can be picky about water and may not drink water they're not familiar with. You'll also need a flat dog bed, blanket, or towel. Prior to the first class, please place this item in your dog's crate, in their bed, or use it to feed them for the week leading up to class. We want this bed to smell like your dog for an activity we'll be doing in class. You can bring your dog's regular bed, just make sure it's something that's not going to be too cumbersome for you to carry in. You're also going to be bringing treats. Remember, these should be pea-sized treats. Bring at least 3 different types of treats in snack-sized baggies packed full. These should be something your dog loves and goes crazy for. Save these super special treats just for training. You might bring hot dogs, cheese, real meat, high-quality, unusual flavored dog kibble like fish, bison, or venison, freeze-dried or cooked liver, or even sandwich meat. You will need the equivalent of 4 to 6 full snack-sized baggies of food. Better to bring too many than not enough. A hungry dog. Please do not feed your dog before class. If they're full, they're just not going to be motivated. You also want to bring an alert dog. Try not to go on long walks or spend too much time at the dog park before class. We don't want your dog so tired they can't learn. You may also consider bringing a treat bag or a pouch to put all those treats in. And lastly, bring a smile and a positive attitude. Before we go, your last secret word is newspaper. And this slide is in here just for some giggles, and I hope you find it funny. I can't wait to meet you and your dog very soon. Please don't hesitate to email me with any questions you have about the orientation. And don't forget, you need to send me an email with your 3 secret words before you come to class.